Hey writers, I have session 4 of the memoir unit, letting other authors inspire our writing. Before we get too far into it, I just wanted to remind you that you are the author, you choose the path you take. This is you go through the writing process in the way that works best for you each day. And as you learn new strategies and techniques, this might also mean that you have a lot of entries, some that are just snippets of the moment, and that some might look more like a full story. These entries will eventually evolve into your final memoir. So don't sweat about what the final product will look like just yet. We will get you there eventually. Okay, so there's this quote from the author Kafka, and he says that literature can be an ice axe to break the frozen seas within us. So, especially right now, we can be very busy with so much that is going on and just feeling so overwhelmed that sometimes we experience what's called writer's block. And then we can't write. We just sit there for our whole workshop time staring. Well, here's something that authors can do. Stop and pick up a book and read for a bit. The book makes us pause and remember, and then we think of the stories and themes in our own lives. So today I want to teach you that when writers want to write powerfully, one strategy they use is to read or to listen literature and then write. So reading literature can help writers write their own literature. Writers write off from the text. So what does that mean, writing off the text? Or how do we actually get inspired by authors? Well, we're going to follow these 4 steps and a little bonus at the bottom, but we're going to build this together. So step 1, read a text that will be powerful for you. Take in the words and images while you read. Now would be a good time to pause and read this poem, Turtle Came to See Me, by Margarita Engel. Then, step 2 says, let it sink in. So I just sat back and paused and thought about what the text said. What did I read in the text? Then step 3, I reread a little bit more. And my eye went to certain parts that I didn't reread the whole entire thing. I could have, it's short enough. But my eye went right to this part about the dancing trees and the branches tossed by island wind. And then I noticed it's the moment when I first began to learn. Then, of course, my eye went to the bold letters or giant letters. Real trees don't look like that. And finally, never seen. So then all these thoughts began to swirl through my mind. Like the moment I realized I wanted to teach kindness throughout the year, when I was shocked at the ways students treated each other. Students don't just know what I expect, I must show kindness always. So these thoughts began to swirl through my mind after reading these parts a little bit more. Then step 4, once you feel in the text, start to write. So clearly, when my gears are spinning, I am in the text. I have lots of thoughts about this poem. So then I write. It was my first year teaching 5th grade, and I just sent my students to complete a history project in small groups. Right away, the voice levels soared. I felt heat rising in my body. My spine tingled, and my head swirled with so many questions I couldn't focus. Individual students began to approach me with tears, angry tones, and fingers pointing back at others. I look over and see students are grabbing materials from each other. It was in this moment that I realized students don't know what my expectations are unless I explicitly teach them. This is the moment I decided that I wanted to teach kindness throughout the year and every year. This is the moment I knew I would have to teach kindness by showing kindness 100% of the time to 100% of people. 8 years later, it feels very good to do this 100% of the time. So I want you to notice that I used the perspective from the text over here. So up top here, I'm noticing that my students were seeing things one way, I was seeing it another way, and then I had a realization towards the bottom of the essay or the entry. Now, a couple things to point out about this entry is that notice I did some of my planning in the margin, just really quick. Translated some thoughts about how I thought this entry might go and jotted it there. Then I have the strategy and the date labeled at the top, so I know what today's work was all about, or this work was about. And then I was doing some editing while I was writing, and I can still read the words that I crossed off. These ideas might be important later. I don't want to cross it off like I crossed off fighting here, but I don't want to use fighting. Then finally, it's also very important that we are not writing about the text, and we are not adding more to the text we read, but we're writing off from the text. We're being inspired by the text. So again, you can notice that this girl was seeing something different here and never seen here. These are perspectives and these are realizations. So at the beginning of my entry, I don't say anything about Turtle came to see me. I'm not adding on to it. I'm not giving a summary. I used perspective. And the first time I realized something to build this entry. That's important to notice. It's also important to notice that I'm only showing you one entry. The more entries you write each day, the easier it will be to build your memoir later. Don't stop after one. Keep going. Use perspective, and I could have another entry that has using perspective and realization in another way, or something else about the poem could spark my attention. So write a lot. Write, and write today during workshop. If you feel stuck, read some literature that could inspire you. I put some examples on Padlet for you, and you can also sneak a peek at your classmates' work as they post it, or go back to previous activities and see what they posted from their notebooks. Their ideas are going to spark yours, and that's absolutely okay. Write out your plan for the work you need to do today, and then get to it. Remember, authors, you choose what you need to do today. If you're not stuck today and you're just writing, continuing the work you did another day, cool, do that. But if you're stuck, use today's strategy to help you. And to further help you, I added a chart here titled, When Reading Another Author's Text, Writers are often inspired by the actual topic the writer writes about, or the themes or issues the writers put forth. Maybe it's just a word or a phrase, or even an image that the author used that sparks your writing today. All right, there's your links and QR code for the Padlet. Good luck today. Happy writing.